Hi, our new unit in science, in seventh grade science, is ecosystems. Now, in this slide, you see some examples of some marine or saltwater ecosystems, but we're going to be looking at ecosystems all around the world, all different types. So, what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is an environment and all of the living and the non-living things that interact in that environment or area. So, it's an area, a place, and all of the living and non-living things. So an ecosystem is not just the living things. All right, so this is an example of an ecosystem. And if you notice, there's a little forested area, and there's grass area, and there's a pond, a lot of different places within this ecosystem, but we consider it one big ecosystem, and all of the living and non-living things in this ecosystem are interacting to form the ecosystem. Okay, so when we say living and non-living things, those are really elementary kind of terms. So we're going to start using the terms biotic and abiotic. So if you hear biotic, that means living thing. If you hear abiotic, it's non-living. So in this particular ecosystem, can we identify the biotic and the abiotic things here in on the picture? So for example, the frog's definitely a biotic, the dragonfly, the ladybugs, the deer, the hawk or the eagle, whichever that is. Of course, all of the plants, these are cattails growing on the side. They're called cattails. You can look it up. Grasses, there's some lotus and the lotus pads floating in the water. The turtles, the fish. So those are all definitely biotic things in this ecosystem. But there are some abiotic factors too, or abiotic things. So one of those is the water. Water is not a living thing. It is an abiotic factor, but it is a very important part of the ecosystem. I mean, if you look here in the picture, there are a lot of biotic factors that live here, that this is their habitat. Sorry. Let me go to the next one. Sorry. And they depend on the water, whether it's to drink the water or to actually live in the water. And then we have sunlight. Sunlight's very important. We'll talk more about sunlight as an abiotic factor when we look at producers. And then the air, even the air around all of these living things, that abiotic factor is very important. You need the air around you to live as well. So in this ecosystem, what do you think are the biotic and abiotic factors? So write that in your notes. So write down what you think are biotic factors and abiotic factors in this ecosystem. We'll talk about it in class. Okay. All right, there are many important abiotic factors, but we're going to focus on just a few for our study. One, of course, is water, as I mentioned before. All living things need water in some form, and it's vital to the existence of most living things. Sunlight is very important because it is the source of all food energy in every ecosystem, because it provides the energy that plants and producers need to make their own food. Another is oxygen. Oxygen is not just needed as a substance that we breathe in, but oxygen is also used within cells, really tiny, tiny cells, for some of the processes that they do. You remember when we talked about the characteristics of living things and they do complex chemical activities. Well, oxygen is a very important abiotic factor in those chemical activities that happen in the cells. Soil is also very important. Plants get a lot of their nutrients from the soil. It also provides a place for their roots to grow. There are a lot of bacteria that live in soil. There are a lot of fungi like mushrooms and things like that. It is a very important abiotic factor. Okay, so one of the graphic organizers that we're going to use to help us when we study vocabulary is this. It's called the Frayer model. You don't need to worry about knowing the Frayer model, but I do want you to be able to use this type of organizer. So if you notice, the key word, vocabulary word, is right here in the middle in the center, and you're going to be doing different activities to help you understand and remember what this word means. So you're going to write a definition in your own words. You're going to sketch a picture that will help you, or a diagram. I'm not a great artist, so I don't expect you to make a beautiful picture, but you will sketch something that will help you remember what an ecosystem actually is. We're going to look at some real world examples, and then you're also going to use it in a sentence that's different from the definition. Okay? So in class, we will be doing these activities. We'll do the Frayer model with the key vocabulary throughout the unit. We're going to look at a farm ecosystem, and you're going to identify the biotic and abiotic factors that you see within the farm ecosystem. We're going to read about different ecosystems, and you're going to select an ecosystem to focus on for your summative project, so the big project, and you're going to be working on it as we go along in the unit. You're not going to wait until the night before to do it. We're going to be doing this throughout the next few weeks, okay? And we will also do a water testing lab because, water is an abiotic factor that's very, very important. So if water is not clean, if it's polluted, or if it doesn't have the right amount of oxygen in it, then it can really affect an ecosystem. So we will be looking at water and water quality. So I hope you understood everything. I hope you've added to your notes, and get ready for a few quiz questions.